I get where other people are coming from, where they only want to share certain parts of their life online, where they're super particular, where it comes off almost kind of scripted. I get it to an extent, but I also feel like that's just won't ever be me. I may get to a point where you feel like my content, oh, it's not what we originally started following you for, because like my life is going to keep changing, and I'm a normal person that changes, that shares those changes, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people are reading my aura and thinking like, she's just mentally off and whack, which, I mean, who wouldn't be a little bit messed up? You know, I'm in a motel, homeless, with 5 kids, and doing everything I can to get out of this situation. It's overstimulating on a daily. I don't have a full oven, and for somebody who loves to cook, like, that's taking a little bit of myself and my person, like how I like to express myself, away from me. And you know, I want to make some biscuits when I want to. I want to make some cookies, a pie, whatever.
Stephanie Jenkins is making her children's lives worse with each passing day, and now she's doing it publicly. Instead of shielding her kids from struggle, she's turned their daily pain into content for social media. She is using them as props to keep her TikTok account alive. It's not just disappointing, it's deeply disturbing and unfair to the children who didn't choose any of this. These children, often referred to as the resilient kids, have been spending their summer trapped in a motel room. No vacations, no summer fun, no normal childhood. That one motel room is their entire world. If they are lucky, they get to run around in the small yard next to shipping containers. That's the extent of their outdoor experience. While the other children created summer memories, went to the beach, had movie nights, rode bikes with friends, or spent time with family on camping trips and amusement park visits. These kids had just two outings in an entire summer filled with long days and even longer nights stuck in a motel room. The first, a trip to the laundromat. Yes, a laundromat. Stephanie was seen pushing her daughter around in a laundry cart. And yes, she filmed it for TikTok. What might be an everyday chore or even an annoying task for most families was turned into a moment of fun simply because there was nothing else. No playgrounds, no playdates, no running through sprinklers or catching fireflies. Just a laundromat cart. And for her daughter, that might have genuinely been the highlight of her summer, which says everything you need to know about how limited their experiences. The second outing, a brief visit to the park. And even that wasn't out of love or planning. It happened only because of a court-ordered visitation between Deshaun and his biological mother, Desiree. Drew, Stephanie's partner, decided to take the older kids along. This wasn't a fun day planned for the kids. It wasn't an intentional effort to let them run free or breathe fresh air. It was simply piggybacking on a legal obligation to fulfill a custody order. The children were treated like tag-alongs to a situation that wasn't even about them. That is it. 2 total outings. Nothing beyond that. No library days, no weekend adventures, no community pool, no effort to find even the smallest piece of joy or spark in their summer. For many families, summer is a time to make memories. For Stephanie's children, it was just more of the same. Isolation, cameras, and cramped motel walls. No real childhood, just views. Stephanie didn't try to take them anywhere else. No pools, even though some local motels or community centers offer free or low-cost swim days for kids. No dollar theater movies, which many families on a budget use to give their kids a taste of fun. No community events like free summer festivals, local library programs, or park concerts. No walk through nature trails or time at free public splash pads or public playgrounds. Not even a simple day out at the park with homemade sandwiches and a blanket. She didn't even try to do simple free things. Things that cost little to nothing but mean the world to a child who just wants to be outside, explore, laugh, and make memories. Instead, her kids became background characters in the same content every single day. Same setting, same motel walls, same routines, always stuck inside or filmed in the yard. No fresh experiences, no social interaction, just their lives caught on camera with their emotions, habits, and personal moments exposed to the world repeatedly. And even asked about possibly taking them somewhere fun, Stephanie admitted she wasn't taking them to Urban Air, an indoor playground. Her excuse? Too expensive. She also mentioned they didn't have a car big enough for the entire family. But let's be honest, there are so many free or nearly free options for families: parks, splash pads, nature reserves, community centers, and more. She simply didn't want to. That's the truth. It wasn't about money, it wasn't about transport, it was lack of effort, a lack of prioritizing her children's needs over content creation. And that's the bottom line. Let's talk about the emotional aftermath. Back to school is supposed to be exciting, a time for kids to catch up with friends and share stories, talk about vacations, show photos of family trips, laugh about funny moments from summer camp, or brag about new toys and adventures. It's when kids reconnect, bond, and relive the best parts of their break. But the resilient kids, they'll have nothing to say. They didn't get vacations, they didn't go on road trips, they didn't roast marshmallows around a campfire, swim at a community pool, or ride their bikes to the corner store. They weren't meeting friends or staying up late with cousins. They lived in a motel with barely enough space to stretch their legs. And worse, they were filmed every day, treated more like content than children. And that's just part of it. Their lives are public. Stephanie didn't protect their privacy. She posted everything: videos of them squeezed into cramped motel rooms, sleeping on floors, sitting beside piles of laundry, eating on the bed, or being featured in her cleaning routines. She made their private struggles part of her public narrative. Other kids will see this, and in today's world, almost every child has access to a phone or a tablet. They're on TikTok, they scroll, they share, they notice. They'll watch these videos. They might laugh, they might tease, and some will bully. Imagine how painful that will be to be mocked not just for being homeless, but for having your worst moments put online by your own mother, for being turned into a TikTok trend instead of being protected, for having no say in what the world sees. These kids didn't choose to be online. They didn't ask to be part of their mom's influencer life. They didn't give permission. They are just kids. Kids who needed stability, privacy, dignity, and above all, boundaries. Not cameras shoved into their faces during their most vulnerable moments. Not a viral moment, not judgment from strangers. They needed love. They needed protection. But what they got instead was exposure. And it will follow them forever. There was a time when Stephanie talked about healing, about wanting to become a better version of herself. She spoke with a softer tone in her videos, said she was going through a transformation, and shared that people were leaving her page because they didn't support the new her. But here's the truth: people didn't leave because she was healing. They left because she wasn't. In the beginning, people were hopeful. They gave her the benefit of the doubt. They saw a struggling mom trying to get her life together. They offered encouragement, watched her content, sent donations, and even left kind comments. Many thought she just needs support. With the right push, she'll get on her feet. They imagined a story of redemption, of a woman moving forward, using her platform to rebuild a safe home for her kids, to turn the chaos into calm. They believed she would leave behind the instability and step into real healing. A better apartment, furniture for the kids, beds instead of floors, a safe, clean place to live. That's what they rooted for. But what they got instead was regression. From a cramped one-bedroom apartment with kids sleeping on floors, she moved them into a motel room, a space even smaller, even less stable, with more exposure and more chaos. She went backwards, and not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. People noticed. The hope began to fade. They didn't see action, just more excuses, more content, and no change. And over time, they walked away. Her views dropped, her likes slowed down, the comments turned quiet, and donations dried up. Supporters who once cheered her for her evolution saw that there was no plan to truly change, just more filming, more sharing, more stalling. The healing journey Stephanie talked about became less of a path forward and more of a mask. And the people who once supported her realized they weren't witnessing growth, they were witnessing a performance. Her solution? Use her kids more. Instead of taking the feedback and focusing on improving her kids' lives, Stephanie went deeper into content creation, deeper into the very behavior that her audience had grown tired of and concerned about. She even admitted openly that she was out of content, as though her children's lives weren't already stretched thin under the constant pressure of being on camera. But the truth is, Stephanie never actually ran out of content. The opportunities were there. Life offered her meaningful stories she could have told. She simply chose a shortcut. She chose to rely on the one thing that always brought her clicks: her kids. Not their well being, not their growth, just their presence on screen. She could have started a different journey, one with depth, growth, and integrity. She could have shown herself applying for jobs, facing the real struggle of getting hired, and documenting the triumphs and setbacks along the way. She could have taken viewers along as she searched for a step apartment or shelter, asking questions, touring places, or seeking affordable housing options. That would have resonated with a lot of people, especially those who had once been in her shoes. She could have volunteered, not only to show a sense of community, but to set a positive example for her children. She could have filmed herself cooking low cost, nutritious meals for her kids, sharing budgeting tips for large families, or even organizing the motel room to make it more livable. She could have built a narrative around family growth, showing real effort to uplift her kids from where they are now. It would have been powerful. It would have been real. It would have been redemptive. But she didn't do any of that. Instead, she picked the quickest way to get attention: use her kids. Again and again. As sympathy tools, as emotional bait, as the content. Because for Stephanie, what mattered most wasn't the outcome for her kids, it was the engagement numbers on her videos. Stephanie has now begun using her children's voices in her videos, strategically and, some might say, manipulatively. It's not just that her children appear in the background of her content anymore, it's that their voices are now front and center, carefully positioned to soften public backlash and gain sympathy in moments when her parenting decisions come under fire. Recently, she had her middle daughter narrate a TikTok video, one that was clearly designed to tug at the heartstrings. A soft, innocent voice explaining what mommy was doing, making things sound sweet and wholesome. But this wasn't spontaneous. This was a calculated move, timed just after Stephanie had faced criticism. And it wasn't the first time. The last time she was under fire for preventing Deshaun from visiting his mother, Desiree, Stephanie employed the same tactic. She had her older daughter narrate a video right after the backlash began to swell. The goal? To shift the public's focus, to make people hesitate before criticizing a video that featured a child's voice. It was less about sharing a family moment and more about damage control.
Thinking about the Resilient Jenkins newest video where they let Addie, their 10-year-old daughter, narrate in the video, it's giving them showing the Resilient Jenkins basically saying, well, Deshaun, I'm sorry you can't be part of the videos because your mom X, Y, and Z. Like, why is that coming to my head? Why is that something that I'm thinking that Stephanie Jenkins is holding above Deshaun's head? Like, because of your mom, we can't put you in our videos. We can't have you narrate it, right? Like, also, why would you think it'd be okay to let your daughter do this narration when your comments, if you read through the comments on the Resilient Jenkins TikTok, they're almost all negative? Like, why would you let subject your daughter to that? It really is giving, I'm trying to make money, stay relevant, And I'm trying to just explore as many alleys and avenues as I can. Also, you lied. You lied. You lied. You lied. You were not SA'd. Your privacy was invaded, and liar. Stephanie Jenkins is a liar.
People were furious that she was interfering with Deshaun's right to reunite with his mother. They saw through the manipulation, but Stephanie doubled down. She didn't apologize or reflect on the situation. She pushed a new video out, voiced by her daughter, trying to frame herself as misunderstood or overly criticized. Then came another stunt. Stephanie posted a video of herself washing a disgustingly dirty bear. She claimed it belonged to the toddler, Booba, and that she washed it weekly. But anyone watching could tell the truth. The bear was caked in grime. The water turned nearly black during the first rinse, and it looked like it hadn't been touched with soap in months, maybe even a year. And oddly enough, Booba had never once been seen with it in prior videos. Once again, her daughter narrated the video, not Stephanie, not a caption, a child's voice.
Stephanie Jenkins, why are you lying, saying that Atlas always has that little bear right there that you washed? This is like one of the first times I've ever seen him with it. But like I was saying, to be this filthy and disgusting, you would think that Bubba has the little teddy bear like permanently attached. Like you would think that he is pretend this is the teddy bear, dragging this around all the time. But he's not. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever seen it since just recently. But we're going to do a cute little voiceover with your daughter, basically trying to say that he has it all the time and you're being a good mom cleaning it for him. I've noticed she's really pushing this I'm a good mom narrative, making natural, I do this because she doesn't, whatever, making natural baby food. And now she's showing how she's always hanging out with their kids in the sense of like, oh, I want to clean this teddy bear, I want to do this. Girl, who are you fooling? You're just mad that Deshaun went to go see his mom. Like, go ahead.
The pattern was impossible to ignore. Every time Stephanie feared public judgment, she put her child out front to shield herself. Instead of taking responsibility or being transparent, she let her children absorb the emotional labor of defending her image. That's not just poor parenting. It's exploitation masquerading as storytelling. Stephanie also tried a new angle. She started filming herself making natural baby food for her youngest child. The presentation was soft, the lighting calm, and the tone gentle, intended to portray a nurturing, mindful mother who was hands-on and present. To the average viewers, just scrolling, it might have looked wholesome at first glance. But viewers saw through it. Because if Stephanie truly cared about nourishing her kids' lives, not just their meals, then their circumstances would be different. They wouldn't be homeless, living from one unstable location to the next. They wouldn't be sleeping on motel beds, or worse, floors. They wouldn't be repeatedly shown in situations that opened them to public embarrassment. And they, certainly, wouldn't be the centerpiece of every TikTok's emotional props. Let's be clear, it wasn't the act of making baby food that bothered people. It was the context, the performative nature of it, the disconnect between a carefully curated clip and the ongoing reality of neglect. This wasn't about caring for her child. This was about repairing her image. It was about showing the internet a softer, more maternal side, while still refusing to take real steps that would lead to lasting change for her family. Let's be honest. The sadder and more chaotic their lives look, the more people tune in. The sympathy flows, the engagement grows. Stephanie knows this. And that's exactly why their situation stays frozen in struggle. Because healing their lives might heal the story. And without the struggle, there is nothing left to monetize. A cycle with no end in sight. Despite everything, every comment, every concern, every red flag, Stephanie is still doubling down. She's not pulling back from exposing her children. She's pushing forward with even more intensity. New angles, new storylines, new ways to present her kids in a light that garners attention. And often, new manipulations cleverly masked as everyday parenting. But the truth remains, nothing is improving for these kids. Their environment hasn't changed. Their day-to-day life remains confined to that same small and stable space. The chaos is just being repackaged into more digestible, watchable content. Behind every smiling thumbnail or carefully narrated clip is a child who's living in uncertainty and instability. It's a toxic loop, one where the children keep suffering in silence while the content keeps rolling. The videos keep coming, one after another. And the internet, it keeps watching, some out of support, some out of curiosity, and others just to keep tabs on the unfolding train wreck. Every view, every like, every heart emoji, every time someone comments, praying for you, it fuels the machine. It keeps the cycle alive. And it unintentionally sends the message that what's happening is acceptable as long as it's wrapped in emotional storytelling. But we must ask and keep asking, at what cost to the children? What's being lost in the process of gaining virtual sympathy and online validation? These kids aren't just growing up poor, they are growing up public. Their lives, raw, vulnerable, and deeply personal, are being put on display. Every hardship is broadcasted. Every moment of sadness, discomfort, or need is turned into a scene. Every tear, every mess, every night spent in a cramped, noisy motel room becomes a visual for strangers to consume. And Stephanie? She doesn't pause. She doesn't reconsider. She just keeps hitting record. As long as there is an audience, the show goes on, and the kids remain the stars of a narrative they never agreed to be in. So, what do you think? Are we watching a mother genuinely trying to survive her circumstances in the only way she believes she can, by sharing her life online? Or are we witnessing something more troubling? A parent who is consciously willing to trade her children's safety, peace, and privacy for likes, followers, and fleeting internet fame? Is this a cry for help masked as content, or a calculated play for attention disguised as struggle? Where do we draw the line between transparency and exploitation, between storytelling and harm? Let's talk in the comments. Share your thoughts, your questions, your outrage, or your compassion. These conversations matter because silence is part of what allows cycles like this to continue unchecked. Like and subscribe if you want to stay informed as this story keeps unfolding, and if you believe in holding influencers accountable, especially when kids are involved. And most of all, let's not forget, the kids are the ones paying the price. They didn't choose this spotlight, and they deserve better.